Hello again. In the previous video, we read about Sir Roger's requirements and idea of an ideal country clergy and how the chaplain met with all of his requirements. And not only Sir Roger admired him, but the parishioners also grew very fond of him. Now let's resume our reading of the text, and this is the last paragraph of this essay. As Sir Roger was going on in his story, the gentleman we were talking of came up to us. The gentleman, the chaplain. So when Sir Roger and spectator were talking about chaplain, the man himself appeared, and upon the knights asking him who preached tomorrow, for it was Saturday night, told us the Bishop of St. Asaph in the morning and Dr. South in the afternoon. The chaplain informed Sir Roger that Sir Asaph will preach in the morning and Dr. South will deliver a sermon in the afternoon. He then showed us his list of preachers for the whole year, where I saw with a great deal of pleasure Archbishop Tillotson, Bishop Saunderson, Dr. Barrow, Dr. Calamy, with several living authors who have published discourses of practical divinity. The chaplain showed them a list of preachers who are going to preach for the whole year, where I saw with a great deal of pleasure, where Mr. Spectator saw some names in the list that included Archbishop Tillotson, Bishop Saunderson, Dr. Barrow, Dr. Calamy, with several living authors who have published discourses of practical divinity, with many other authors who have published discourses, published sermons of practical divinity. And these people were real great preachers who adopted a simple conversational style in their preaching, and these were the bishops who, through their discourses, endorsed the idea of practical divinity, idea of preaching in a language that simple-minded people could understand. I no sooner saw this venerable man in the pulpit, but I very much approved of my friends insisting upon the qualifications of a good aspect and a clear voice, for I was so charmed with the gracefulness of his figure and delivery, as well as with the discourses he pronounced. I no sooner saw this venerable man, this respectable man, the chaplain. He's talking about the chaplain. So when Mr. Spectator saw the chaplain at the pulpit delivering his sermon, he was convinced of his worth, he was convinced of his talents and his skill, and he came to know. But he came to know his friends insisting upon the qualifications of a good aspect and a clear voice. He came to know why did Sir Roger insisted on the qualifications of a good aspect and a clear voice. For I was so charmed with the gracefulness of his figure and delivery, as well as with the discourses he pronounced. Because he was so impressed with his personality and his delivery and pronunciation of the sermon, that I think I never passed any time more to my satisfaction, that he thought that he had made good use of his time, and he was fully satisfied with the chaplain and his art at the pulpit. A sermon repeated after this manner is like the composition of a poet in the mouth of a graceful actor. And he makes a beautiful comparison here, and he says that a sermon delivered in this manner is like a poem recited by some graceful actor. See what Mr. Spectator is trying to put here, that that sermons and preaching delivered at a religious gathering should be in a easy language, and only then it would be most effective in reaching out to the more simple minded people. And also in the last para, we had read that Mr. Roger gifted the chaplain a collection of good sermons in English language, and the purpose behind this gift was to establish a good communication between the chaplain and his parishioners. If chaplain had used scholarly languages like Greek or Latin in sermonizing, then it wouldn't have been possible. But chaplain's ability to use a more direct and more simple and relatable form of preaching brought him closer to the people of the parish. And that's why Sir Roger desired qualities such as a good aspect, plain sense, a clear voice, and a sociable temper. And Mr. Spectator, after witnessing all these qualities in the chaplain during one of his sermons, approves of Sir Roger's idea of an ideal country clergy and praises him wholeheartedly. In the last para, he says, I could heartily wish that more of our country clergy would follow this example, and instead of wasting their spirits in laborious composition of their own, would endeavor after a handsome elocution and all those other talents that are proper to enforce what has been penned by great masters. This would not only be more easy to themselves, but more edifying to the people. He concludes by wishing and recommending that more of our country clergy would follow this example, that all country clergymen should follow this example of the chaplain. Instead of wasting their spirits in laborious composition of their own, instead of wasting their energies on composing difficult compositions of their own, which simple minded people cannot understand, would endeavor after a laborious elocution and all those other talents that are proper to enforce what has been penned by great masters. On the contrary, what they should do, they should use their qualities. They should endeavor, they should try, they should attempt to pronounce more clearly. Elocution means express yourself in a clear way, a clear expressive speech, and all those other talents that are proper to enforce what has been penned by great masters. And they should use their qualities in delivering sermons penned by means composed by, written by great writers, as Sir Roger's chaplain does. This would not only be more easy to themselves, but more edifying to the people. Edifying means it would be more educational or enlightening. So this practice would not only be easier for them, but also more edifying, more enlightening and informational to the common people. With this, we end the discussion of this essay. In the next class, we'll take up another essay. Thank you so much.